we start with some woman or man, and we learn their kids or they have babies. I mean, we get to see their whole life like before our eyes every single day, which is a lot of fun. Sometimes it has its challenges. I mean, people go through hard times. We hear about that. Like, people always say, like, my hairstylist is my therapist. That is 100% true. We hear the good, the bad, the ugly.
Ain't no call like a beauty call.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Dr. Z with another episode of Beauty Calls, and today we've got a special guest from La Bella Donna salon. It's everyone's favorite hairstylist in New Bern, probably the most prolific hairstylist that I know in New Bern. My wife is a customer as well as pretty much every other woman I know, but it's Bryan Wayne, a native of the area, who's going to talk to us about how he got into the business of hairstyling and a lot more details about that form of art that we're going to discuss today. So, Bryan, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Now, I don't joke when I say the most prolific, because every time I talk to somebody, and it's usually women. You do men too?
Very few.
Okay.
Just family, basically.
They're like, oh, Bryan does my hair. Last night I was asking somebody else to be on the podcast, and they're like, oh, Bryan does my hair too. So, so you're doing well for yourself, huh?
Yeah, I like to think so. I love what I do. I've been doing it for about 13 years now. So I've been doing it for a minute.
That's awesome. And as I just mentioned, I'd like to hear a little bit about how you first decided to get into hair. And do you call yourself a hairdresser or a stylist, or what's the proper...
More hairstylist, I think, these days. Like, I like to go by hairstylist or just stylist, either one.
Okay.
Because, like, part of what we do, like, besides hair is, like, we do help people style, like, their live clothes, stuff that goes with it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Stylist or hairstylist.
So do hairstylists in general do that, or is that just something that you do?
I think it's morphed into, like, we help everyone with, like, general style from, like, head to toe. Like, we refer people to your office, both sides. We refer people to, like, different clothing people that we know, or just, like, what stores. Part of, like, doing hair is keeping up with trends. So, like, when you see runway or magazines, I mean, you're looking at clothes, hair, makeup.
Absolutely.
So, like, yeah, I think most hairstylists help with, like, general all-around beauty.
Giving tips and things like that.
And all of it.
So hairstyling, when and how did you first get into it, or decide, like, I want to try that out?
My parents kind of pushed me into it. I was thinking about college, and I was taking an anatomy class. I thought I'd be some physical therapist, and I failed anatomy. I don't know if my parents know this, with like a 46, and they were like, it's time to, like, get your life together. And I always played with hair in school, like ruined my parents' bathrooms with hair color, doing my friends. So I was like, well, let's just give it a shot. And I was fortunate enough to go out to Las Vegas and go to cosmetology school.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's where it all started out, was there.
Was it a highly, like, desirable school, or how did you end up in Las Vegas?
My best friend in high school's parents moved out there our senior year of high school, so she stayed with us. And when we graduated, they were like, y'all should come out here, like, hang out within a year. As long as y'all go to school, you don't have to pay rent. So we literally packed up cars, shipped all of our stuff across the country. My parents knew nothing about what was about to happen, neither did I. And I ended up going to a really good hair school out there, because they don't have community colleges that do cosmetology there. So it's a lot more expensive than what we thought, but it was worth it, and it was a lot of fun. And it was like this 9 months program, Tuesday through Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 3:30 every day.
Wow. For how long?
For
1
9
year?
months.
Okay.
It was a solid 9 months.
And when you finished and you got out into the real world, I'm assuming you got a job somewhere?
I did. I actually instantly knew I wanted to come back to New Bern. I like the smaller town and slow pace, so I went and learned everything I could there. I think we did learn a little bit more than what, like, I would have learned here, just because it was a bigger area. It was,
right.
Their trends were already ahead of what we were doing here.
Right.
So that, like, helped me build a career quickly here.
And starting out, did you feel adequately prepared, or was it kind of like a steep learning curve where it's like the first couple ones you're like, hey, I'll give you a discount because we don't know how this is going to turn out?
The first probably like 6 months to a year was kind of figuring out. We call it like A&P, apply and pray. Like, you kind of like, you
right.
called it. This is the first time no one's like holding your hand and helping you do it. So no,
right.
It's 6 months to a year to be like confident and like, this is going to make this happen.
Yeah. Cool. And You mentioned trends and things like that. So we know that fashion trends and hairstyles and all these things are constantly changing, and I'm sure some come and go and come back again. What kind of trends are you seeing today? Like, just out of curiosity, what's hot with hair? And I guess it would mainly be for women, since that's your area of expertise. I think bald is what's hot for men.
What's in for men? I mean, what's in for hair? This applies to men too. Whatever like your hair will do, like it's that like effortless, like natural look. So like if you're bald, that's what we go with. With women, like if you have like really wavy or curly hair, it's better to like make that look the best it can, not try to make it stick straight if your hair won't do it. So it's really working with our guest on, like that lived in look. And if your hair has a slight wave to it, let's like frame it more, because that'll make that wave pop up around your face. And if you have good cheeks, we like hit hair to like contour your face to like make your cheeks stand out with like your hair. So trends are really right now like effortless. People want like easy maintenance, even though effortless hair can still take a lot of work.
So is it to look effortless or to actually be effortless?
To look effortless. Effortless hair takes a lot more work than what people think, because like that slight bend, if you turn a curling iron too much, well then it's curled. Then you got to straighten it out. So it's like teaching them how to get that effortless live and look pretty easy.
Well, I like the idea of accentuating your natural gifts or your natural beauty, because it always seems like in my business and in lots of beauty businesses, people are always after what they don't have, right? And with hair, it was always straighten it if it's curly, perm it if it's straight. So are people more embracing their own natural hair, or is it still kind of people always yearn for what they don't have?
A lot of people are embracing it. A lot of it's the stylist. Like a lot of people trust us after they come to us for a long time. It's like whatever you want to do now. I hear it every day, a girl today. She was like, I trust you. Just do whatever you want to do.
Cool.
So that makes it easier for us to like kind of make it to be as easy as it can be. Some of it may be generational. We definitely still have like a certain clientele that still wants, their hair permed to do what it's not supposed to do easy, but they want to keep it that way. So they're like kind of stuck in how they used to have it, which is also okay. There's a market for that.
And is there like your signature as far as style, the way, a painter's paintings can be identified just by looking at them often? Is there a Bryan Wayne style?
I would definitely say the lived-in blondes, it's a little kind of like how your daughter has it. Your daughter comes to me as well. That real Rudy look with like the lighter ends and redheads. I've got a lot of redheads because I've like nailed down those like natural red and copper looks that like you see celebrities have, but it looks like they were born with it.
So you're being coloring?
Yeah, coloring hair. Definitely color more than.
So if we see a striking redhead around New Bern, it's probably one of your works.
Probably one of my guests, yeah.
And is that something that you just kind of learn with time, or I guess what I'm getting at is, are there certain role models in the industry, like people that inspire you? I don't know if there's celebrity hairstylists anymore, or people that you look to in magazines and are like, wow, this person's work is amazing. I want to emulate.
There is. It's like a cool little story, like how I got to blondes and redheads, and even like the bridal side of it that I have. I was very lucky to start working with L'Oreal probably 5 years into my career, and very quickly got to be a platform artist. But through those like 3 years before I got there, I worked with like world famous hairstylists. I worked with people that were leading New York Fashion Week and coming up with everything. And part of that process to getting where I was just soaking up all the knowledge of people that were already doing the things that I'm good at. And so I would see someone doing redheads. I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And I would just mentor with them and just start following them and helping them backstage. So that's kind of how I got to like the reds and like the blondes, and like I just soaked myself with the people that I thought were doing it the best. And that's how I picked up on it.
Is there like one or two big names in hairstylists today in America or in the world?
There's Christopher Benson's a real big one. A lot of people use them. Denman hairbrushes. He's like a big one. A lot of people know him. And then Chris Appleton, who does like the Kardashians, the Jennifer Aniston, like everyone. He does everyone who is everybody's hair.
Gotcha.
So there are some pretty big people still.
I don't stay up to date with those names, but I've heard of people like Vidal Sassoon
Yeah.
and Paul Mitchell and things, probably because of their products, right?
Yeah,
Not
so
because
they're all
they're
like branded.
so they've become like, yeah, branded. So merchandise that's made them famous and probably very wealthy. Is that sort of still the thing to do if you're, a top hairdresser, is to use your name as a brand and sell stuff?
Because even like me and stylists coming up, like they want your stuff. They want to do hair how you do it. So like if you're good at round brushing hair, I mean, that's where you get these people that come out with brushes, or Paul Mitchell, his hair always is like real shiny and full. I'll make products because then people are going to buy it because they can do it like I can. So there's a market for it.
Is that something that you thought about doing?
I would love to have a brand of something. I just don't know what it is yet.
And I guess also with social media is an opportunity these days for any kind of provider of art or craft or whatever to build up a following and then easily transition once you've got a huge following into a brand, right? Or selling stuff. So is that something that is integral to your work, or is it not something you really pay much attention to, social media stuff?
It depends on it. That's like how you, like which direction you want your career to go. Like there was a moment in time that I thought I wanted to be like social media famous and do all this stuff. And I worked really hard at it. And I was just like, man, this is a lot of time. Like,
It takes a lot of work, yeah.
I'm working 12 hours behind the chair, and then I'm getting home and having to do 3 hours of social media. I could have paid someone to do it, but then you're not making money right away doing it. So very quickly it was like, I don't want to be like Instagram famous. It's a lot of work. I did every once in a while, I'd have like brands like reach out to me like, hey, we use our product and tag us in it. And I would do that a little bit, but like they wanted you to push whatever they wanted you to push. So if you didn't believe in it, it's either you get free products or you're lying about it. So I didn't want to do that either.
I think that's a good idea. Because if you're not really you're not a paid endorser, right? So you need to maintain your integrity for your clients. What are some of the challenges in your field, I guess, in your current position or just in general?
Oh, challenges. I didn't think about this one much.
I'm sure there's people who sometimes are unhappy, not because of anything you did, but just because they're just always hard to please.
There's just some things like with hair like that we cannot change or do anything about. Like hair loss is always a big one. I mean, probably I'd say 50% of people that come into the salon have hair loss issues, and they're coming to us for answers. And there's some things that we can do. We want to help them, but like there's a lot of stuff that like we have to send people to doctors because we can't look with a microscope to tell like if it's male pattern baldness, if it's there's 3 stages of hair growth. One you're growing it, one it's dormant, one is shedding, that you can also only see underneath the microscope. So we have to give people these tools to hopefully be able to like find someone that can actually help it. We can tell them, you can try Rogaine, you can try Bosley, you can try collagen. All that stuff takes like 3 or 6 months. So that's very challenging to like get people to like, hey, you can try this for 3 months, but you gotta actually do it. And they're like, oh, we're gonna do it. They won't. So that's a big challenge of getting people to do it.
Yeah. So that population probably is a challenge because you're really fighting against biology, right? How about how do you deal with if you've ever had any dissatisfied customers?
Oh, a lot of times, we offer to fix it. I mean, it happens. I mean, we're all human. You're going to make mistakes. Just coming in and bring a picture. Some hairstylists don't like pictures. I love pictures. Bring in a picture because the words you're using, if you sound confident, I believe you, and I'm like, oh, I'll do what you said. And then I realize, oh, they didn't mean that. Like they thought that word was what they were supposed to do. It wasn't. So like, just bring in a picture. So like, just kind of fixing it that way. Color's a lot easier to fix than haircuts. If we jack your haircut up, I mean, extensions are the only fix. Shorter or extensions.
And you're right. It's not necessarily that you made a mistake. It's just being on the same page with your client, understanding what they're hoping for. And just a little addition from my personal experience, one of the things we do a lot of here is breast implants, right? So understanding what's a woman wants her breast to look like and how big and what shape is kind of hard to communicate. But I learned very early on that pictures do help, and wearing sizers helps, because they would come in and say, I want to look very natural. I want to look really proportionate, natural. And then when they come out, they didn't really want that because they're like, what's this? You know, I thought we were going a little bigger. Or I want to be a C. And then they show me a picture and it's someone with like triple D's. And you know they'd be unhappy, right, if they really were a C. So I think pictures is a great thing. But as long as you understand that you're not committing to that exact result. You know, you're not telling your clients, oh yeah, you're definitely going to look like this, because it's a different person and the hair is different and the a lot of stylist is different.
You know, in the beginning, like I feel like a lot of times, like I was one of them, you want to make everyone happy. So like, I mean, if I wanted, I don't know, double D's, or if I wanted red hair, you know, someone's going to do it because they want someone to be happy, and that's not a realistic expectation. So like being able to like guide people to what's reality and what's not. And even with pictures, a lot of times we cover the woman's face first, because I was like, I want you to like that hair, not Jennifer Aniston that had her hair styled. And
right.
You like the hair without the face and body.
That's
sometimes
smart.
people say no. They're like, oh wow, it was her aesthetic that I liked.
That's pretty smart. And that leads me to wondering about, you know, we mentioned, is there a Bryan Wayne style or signature? Because it's an art form, right? So how about if people come in and they sit in your chair and they ask for something that you totally don't like or don't want to do? You might encourage them or try to guide them, but will you do something that's against your aesthetic?
Absolutely not. I will, because my name's on it. If you walk out and I did your hair, whether it's good or bad, someone's going to ask you, oh, who did your hair? But you don't know if they like it. And they're going to say my name. So if it's something I'm not comfortable with or I don't think will look good, part of our consult, I'll just very nicely refer them to someone else.
So what kind of limitations do you have?
I do not do hair extensions and I do not do perms. There's 13 people in our salon, so there's someone that can be fit with anybody. So if someone doesn't want to do it or not confident or comfortable, we just refer them to someone else in our business.
I've seen some videos on YouTube of these guys that like glue hair on to heads. Have you seen those things? Like
I've seen some
braids or cornrows. They kind of look pretty good for people who have no hair at all. But how's that in real life? Is that even a viable option, or is it just kind of silly?
I mean, kind of silly. I mean, it's going to be hot. It's a lot of maintenance. Like, it's not going to last for a long time.
You have to keep redoing it every couple weeks.
I'm like, if you want to get it done, there's people that do hair transplant surgeries. Like, they go to somewhere where it's more permanent and it'll last. Like, that's upkeep again. Same thing with hair extensions. Like, with women in hair extensions, like I want it. Well, you can't put your hair up anymore. You can't braid it. You have to brush it so many times. There's all these things. So making sure people know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about like tattooing or scalp micropigmentation? Ever seen any of that?
I've seen a couple people. I have a friend that got it done maybe like 3 years ago. So far it still looks good. I think that may be something that's still so new to see, like how it's going to last like long.
Yeah, it might be like eyebrows and things that we do where it's a semi-permanent kind of thing. Cool.
I do think, the like microblading or the tattooing and hairlines, the ones I've seen look pretty good. It'll be interesting to see a lot of people when they have the widow's peak start doing it right now. What happens when the rest of it goes?
Right.
Like,
there's only so much you can do. Yeah.
It'd be more noticeable when it keeps going.
Yeah. And hair transplantation, it has really evolved into a very good option. It's not something we get involved with, but it's robotic nowadays, you know, so it's very precise. And for some people, that might be the way to go. As well as the medications you mentioned, and maybe even certain adjunct therapies like red light. I know red light therapy has clinically shown to regrow hair, but you got to get it before it's too far gone, I guess.
Before it's dead, like the cuticle and stuff. And that's PRP. We have some clients that have started doing PRP, and they think it works. So you said you don't do men's hair, but what's the difference in doing men's hair versus women's hair? Or like if a guy came in wanting to do something, like how would you determine whether or not you wanted to take them on? I think it's really just like, you know, you can be like good at a lot of things, but not great at everything, or even just like okay at some stuff. I just really like longer women's hair, like just like that clientele. So I've like
those styles,
created that as my business. That's what I could do. I can cut a man's hair. It may take me a little bit longer than a barber because I just don't do it. And it probably wouldn't be the greatest.
So, in your questionnaire that I sent you just to get some ideas about things you might like to talk about, you discussed building lifelong friendships. And I can certainly see that if someone's been going to you for years and years and then their kids go to you or their family, they almost become like close friends or family members. That's probably a very rewarding part of your job, I would assume.
Oh yeah, it is really nice. I mean, just like you said, like we start with some woman or man and, you know, we learn their kids or they have babies. I mean, we get to see their whole life like before our eyes every single day, which is a lot of fun. Sometimes it has its challenges. I mean, people go through hard times. We hear about that. Like people always say like, my hairstylist is my therapist. That is 100% true. We hear the good, the bad, the ugly, every single
You probably hear a lot of gossip too, right? Like
we hear a lot
you're
of
probably you probably have your finger on the pulse of New Bern, huh?
Yeah. There was like a moment during the pandemic when we were not working. I was like, I'm about to start selling secrets. Like I was going to have to make a decision.
Now, is it actually something where confidentiality is important, like in medical, or not so much? Like, is there HIPAA of hairdressers?
There's an understood HIPAA that what we know and like what we hear, we don't repeat. Obviously I'll get around some of my friends and like tell stories, but not with names. Like where no one could be like her and not where you could figure out who.
Because then they won't trust you anymore.
Yeah, they won't trust us.
Well, do you have any juicy stories from recent days with no names attached?
Oh gosh. I may have to think on that one. We have to come back to that one.
How about a story of somebody who maybe, you know, I'm thinking always from my lens, but I would imagine it translates. When you're done with what you've done, it just really transforms their demeanor, their confidence, just a boost overall that a new hairstyle might give someone. Any stories like that?
Oh gosh.
Or tons of them.
I feel like stuff like that happens like every day. Like, because people come in when they're having like bad days or like, I just want to do something that feels good. So like we may be like, oh, well, let's, you know, add some bangs today or like, you know, let's just go brighter. Usually it's just like the sun brightness makes people feel happy. So, you know, they will do little things like that. And like you can see a big difference. I think with hair is one of those things, the transformation most of the time is like instant. So like when we turn you and you see yourself, like you could see how happy people get with their hair.
That's probably a cool moment, right? The reveal.
Yeah.
Is it always set up like that or with you, or do you have somewhere like they can see the whole process and it's not a dramatic like reveal?
I kind of like fill out the person. Some people, like, even though they trust us, want to still see what's going on in the mirror, especially like people that want to keep all the links through their hair. Like they want to make sure like when they say half an inch, they mean a quarter of an inch and that you don't take a half an inch.
Right.
And then like people that are like, oh, I trust you, do whatever. No, we turn them away from the mirror. So like they're surprised. They can't see if what we mixed up is like red or blue yet. And so it's just a big reveal.
Yeah, I cut my hair currently, but when I used to go to the barber, and it wasn't too long ago, just like an old-fashioned type of like men's barber shop is where I have experience, but they always will kind of cut your hair and you can't see the mirrors behind you. And then when you're done, they'll turn you around and you look at it and you're like, okay. And then they always ask like, you know, do you want anything different? You need any more taken off? That's always a question. And sometimes I would, but I feel a little bit bad to say, yeah, take a little bit off of everything again. Cause it's like they're redoing the whole thing. Is that kind of something that you do too? Or is it not really do we need more?
I have noticed, like, even my barbershop where I go, they do keep you from not looking in the mirror. And I have no idea why they do it. I'll have to ask my barber now. Before we definitely, like, style hair, we're ask women, like, if they want a little bit more off. But usually we're pretty good at it ahead of time.
Would you feel bad saying take, like, a lot more off? Or
Oh, yeah, I don't think I've ever asked my barber to take more hair off. But there's definitely times that I probably need more taken off.
How about, let's move on to a different topic, still related to hair though. And I know you're still thinking about a juicy story.
I know.
Any good hair tips, hair care recommendations, things that people just don't know that if they knew these one or two things or suggestions on products, it could make a huge difference and totally transform like your hair in general?
Dirty hair does not color better. There was this whole myth that dirty hair would color better.
Is that right?
A day old hair will help if your scalp gets irritated by color, but when you come in with oily hair And hair color has water in it. It pushes the color off of your hair. So
That makes sense.
Dirty of hair. And don't go 2 weeks without shampooing your hair. It's gross. Like everyone's trying not to wash their hair.
I've heard a lot of women talking about that. Why is that? Is it bad for your hair?
Laziness.
So it's a fabrication that it's not good for your hair to wash it regularly.
3 days, 4 days if just something happened, but 3 days is like the most you should go without shampooing your hair. You get a lot of buildup and free radicals on your scalp from not shampooing it.
Yeah.
You want to get that off because
Scalp
hair loss
disease
can get worse from like your cuticles being like clogged and dirty. So like no, you want to get that stuff off.
And any specific like tips, or is it just get a shampoo you like and wash your hair?
It's kind of what you want to address. Like if smoothness is your issue, you want to find a product that's good for smoothness. If it's volume, you need to find good like volume products. We use all Unite and Milbon in our salon, so like that's what we'll push a lot. There's a lot of good brands out there. We definitely try to push people away from drugstore brands. They put a lot of stuff in there that you really don't need.
Is that right?
All of it's also budget. Like we try to, push people towards like what they want to afford and everything like that too. So it's kind of about like asking your stylist the best stuff for you.
So I should think about replacing my Head and Shoulders.
Is it working for you?
Yeah, I think so. I always have an itchy scalp, and sometimes you get a little seborrhea, and it seems like that stuff helps, but I'm sure there's better options out there.
No, Head and Shoulders, that's good. I mean, people definitely have used it for a long time. That's good.
And it's a Cincinnati brand, which is where I'm from Procter & Gamble. But yeah, I'm sure there's so many brands. So washing it more often than not. Don't get it colored dirty.
Yeah, don't do that.
How about is coloring it or frequently or damaging to the hair?
That's all. As long as you have a good stylist. I mean, you could get your hair colored every single week if you want to. A lot of it's on us to like not overlap, not double process too many times back to back. So you can color like every other week if you wanted. Definitely when it comes to like going lighter, that's more like elasticity. And if like it's breaking, you don't need to do it anymore. And that's what we're like help people at home. Like Olaplex is a big one that people use for damaged hair. Like so like if we were to push something to a boundary, we'll tell you ahead of time what you need to do to be able to do that.
How about heating elements? Is that damaging?
Heating is very bad on hair. That's where we probably talk about
flat irons, straightening.
Flat irons. I don't know why flat irons go up to 450 and 500 degrees. You very rarely need it. I actually just had a talk with teenagers are the worst when it was,
right. My daughter's been known to use a flat iron.
Towards Gabby when you see this. But heat, it's very bad. You really need nothing over like 375, 400 max. Was telling this teenage girl today, she was like, I straighten it as high as it can go. And I'm like, that's what they cook French fries on. Like 450 is what you cook French fries. And so like we usually when that connects to people, they're like, oh, we will turn it down.
Yeah. Okay. So those are some good, just basic tips then. Yeah. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your role in the community. I know that you're involved with the Young Professionals group, and that's something that we just started interacting with as in our organization a little bit. So tell me what that is, how you're involved in it, and just anything you want us to know about the Young Professionals group. It's through the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, so Young Professionals, they have like 2 affiliate groups, Military Alliance and Young Professionals of Craven County. I'm on that board with that. It's definitely grown a lot like the last year and a half. So it's a networking group of young professionals from 21-ish to 45-ish years of age. We throw a social once a month. We always have like fun giveaways. We do food. We have drinks. We actually just had one. We had like a pie eating contest, and the person got like a grill, some free beef to cook, and like everything you needed to like grill stuff with. It's an awesome group. We do advertising for any members. If like you have an event or a post, like we'll put all that stuff out. You guys did sponsorship with us last year for the Oyster Homes. Thanks for that.
Absolutely.
So like we just like to like connect businesses and people together, and even if you don't have a business that you need to grow, or a lot of people work from home now, so like they're just here living and their businesses aren't here.
Yeah.
It's a good way to just meet new people. we were always at like fun and cool places. And then we do stuff with like the symphony and other things where like we're like, Bryan Wayne will be at the symphony on January 3rd. Like look for him in a blue t-shirt if you don't know anyone.
Okay.
So it's really to bring people together. And then volunteering, that was like a big thing when I got on the board. I wanted it to be like a big volunteering network. So we always have like volunteering stuff set up and different organizations you can be a part of if you want to.
What do you define as young?
Well,
What are the limits?
so that's why I say 21-ish to 45-ish years of age. We don't have a birthday year on our application. It used to be 21 to 40. I try to raise it to 50. We met in the middle at 45. So I think...
So I don't qualify anymore.
I don't tell anyone that. And anyone can come to our events no matter whether you're a member or not or age.
Oh, okay. Well, then
it's
that's
very open to everybody. It's just the giveaways are only for paid members.
Got
So
it.
that's where it kind of changes a little bit.
Okay. So anyone can get involved, though,
Anyone
and
can
get to
come in,
meet
yeah.
people. It seems like this podcast has turned into a recruitment tool for people to come to our fair. Because our first guest was a singer who was at our first health and wellness fair. And then every other guest seems like a perfect fit. So I want to invite you on air if you want to come to the New Bern Health and Wellness Fair, which is the first Saturday of November. So it's an opportunity to set up a little tent and talk to people about hair, maybe do some little free mini consultations or whatever, and get some new clients. Are you taking new clients?
Not really at the moment, but our salon definitely is. With there being 13 stylists, like we're always looking for people. So yeah, that would be something fun to do.
Drive some people to your salon.
I invited my salon. I hope that was okay.
No, absolutely. And just get to know you. And maybe you'll see a lot of your current clients out there. Just be a fun thing to do. The last question I have, and it could be the hardest question and probably the one that could take as long as the whole thing we've already discussed, is what is beauty? That's how I first came up with the idea of doing this, because everyone has their own definition. It's impossible to define it because there is no real answer. But depending on your point of view, you could have something very different from the next person, right? So Bryan Wayne, what is your definition of beauty? The best you can say it.
Well, my answer to your question when you sent it was people strutting around and flipping their hair like nobody cares. I think that's a beautiful thing to see. People that just.
I don't think anyone is ever going to give that answer again.
So we can frame my answer. No, like beauty, like just being happy with yourself, no matter what it is. I mean, I see beautiful things all day long, from, I mean, like cars to just genuinely happy people that like are just like happy with what they're doing. And I mean,
do you want to get into this a little bit more? Because for me, it's interesting. And your answer, which was really funny, flipping that hair all around and strutting like nobody cares, told me basically what you're saying is confidence.
yeah, confidence.
Confidence is very beautiful. Which is an abstract concept, I guess, an abstract type of beauty. But how about more concrete, like when you're talking about a hairstyle, or you're talking about a body shape, or you're talking about anything that we do? Why are some styles beautiful and some ugly? Even if you're confident in the ugly one, when you look at it on a picture and you don't really know what that person's personality is like, why would you say, oh, that's not good?
So when it comes to like that, so like hair is very much like with what you do in like makeup. Like it's a lot of like body and like face contouring. So like you could love the hair that you're flipping, but like me in my profession, I'm like, wow, your like face was a little wide up top. You shouldn't have had bangs because it's bringing it out. You need to like open your face up.
So balance, kind of,
like
the right
balance.
Proportions.
Yeah, when it comes to just visualizing beauty, when it comes to that, like, I mean, some things are just like cut wrong. Just like clothes can be cut wrong. It doesn't matter your body shape. It just isn't cut to fit you as well.
So is it a gut instinct? Is it something that's just innate to us? Like when you see it, you're like, that looks harmonious, or no, it doesn't work?
I think it's like, I guess like with you, if you're in the beauty industry, like you may be able to look at it on a piece of paper and do it. Whereas like I mean, I could think your haircut looks bad, but you're flipping it all around. So I'm like, oh, you think it looks good? I think it looks good then. Like, I'm not going to tell you it looks bad.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned bald, and I've gone back and forth with shaving my head, and sometimes it's longer than others. But back in the day, nobody wanted to be bald, right? That's why you've got Rogaine and hair transplants, and people feel really self-conscious about it. But some celebrities popularized it, and being bald was really cool. And one thing that I remember thinking when I first saw someone, either like Bruce Willis or Jason Statham or somebody who's just like really cool, on TV, they've got confidence. You don't even see them as being bald. You just see them as being cool. So I think that the hairstyle just fades away almost as far as what particular type of style it is when they're wearing it like, they're the coolest dude in the room. Is that sort of what you think? It might not necessarily go right on paper, but when you see them in real life, if they emanate this beautiful confidence,
happy with their self and their life, like you kind of don't think that it may be a bad hairstyle or a bad t-shirt. Like you're like, oh, that's a happy person.
Yeah. And then you go try it on yourself and you're like, what did I do?
Yeah, you're like, I look awful like that.
Oh, that's cool. Anything else you'd like to add about where you're going in the future, aspirations, things you want people to know about you besides what we've already talked about?
Let's see. I do some other like fun things with my career. I've done Charleston Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week. I've been published in a couple like magazines. So like the hair industry has definitely, like when I first started, I thought I would just be behind the chair doing hair, and then it's almost like every couple of years I've started doing more and more a little bit, which definitely makes it a lot more exciting, and that helps keep us up on trends. Like we're about to go to Fashion Week again, and like, we see what you're going to wear next year. So that helps, I think, with my clientele, like be a little bit more ahead, because like I'm seeing what you're going to buy next year. You don't even know it yet. And the hairstyles, we create those to go with that look.
That's cool. So and when you first started talking to me about hairdresser versus hairstylist, how about just stylist, period?
Yeah.
Just an all-purpose person stylist. Neat. And if guests or listeners are wanting to get in touch with you or find out what you're up to, do you have some social media outlets, or what's the best way to reach you?
Definitely Instagram, and it's at the Bryan, and it's TheBryann. So there's that 3 N's at the end of my
What's the 3 N's?
Bryan was taken. So that was the first time I could stop.
And two N's was taken also?
Yeah, 2 N's were taken, so 3 it was.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. I mean, it's been great to learn about and more of your process and what it's like to be a stylist. And I think it's cool. I didn't really think about all the other things that you might be involved in as just styling people's overall look, So I think definitely I can see why so many people are trying to get to you in New Bern, and I'm happy that some of my family members made it in before you shut the door on them. But no, I'm just kidding. So hopefully we'll see you at the Health and Wellness Fair, and in the future, if you ever have any events that you got going on with the young professionals, or just through your own business or whatever, let me know, and we'll put the word out to everybody.
We appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Seeing you, Dr. Zannis.
All right. That's it.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Ain't no call like